It's funny. This has been a very eventful week here in New York. There's been a lot of big things going on. The Giants got embarrassed on Sunday night. We had a whole day to talk about that. Then there was the hype of Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, the shocking injury, the win, the future of the Jets. And shockingly, there was a major, major story that's come to a head today that none of us have spent much time on. And that is the fact that we got the absolutely stunning news, maybe not as stunning as Aaron Rodgers, of Jason Dominguez. Mm-hmm. Jason Dominguez comes up here. It's a guy we've heard about for years as a top Yankee prospect. He gets recalled. He tears the cover off the ball. And I really thought, Tiki, the excitement Yankee fans had for a week or so was not about them making the playoffs.
No.
It's about the fact that Jason Dominguez looks like a stud.
Yeah, it was that, but it was also, why in the hell did it take so long to bring him up?
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost a conversation about Brian Cashman's job status and Aaron Boone, because I'm sure he has some influence as well, for after having the spring that he had, which was fantastic, to let him sit and dwell in the minors when you have no outfielders, or at least no healthy ones, because everybody was taking their turns getting hurt from Judge to Bader. Obviously, Hicks got released, and you're throwing, spot players out there. Why in the hell did it take so long to bring him up? That's what I wanted to scream about. And then the next thing you know, he has an UCL injury.
And that's the injury. The injury he got wasn't simply, hey, this was a fun week, and now he's done for the year, and there's no reason to watch the Yankees. It's an injury that affects next year. And today we got the official word. It was right before the game. Aaron Boone announced it, that he does have a torn UCL. He's going to need Tommy John surgery, and he's going to miss probably 9 months. I've done the math. Today is September 14th. He probably has the surgery in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks.
Yep.
9 months from now is June. So the next time we see Jason Dominguez playing for the New York Yankees is June, July. And so it's one thing for a guy to have an injury. Injuries suck in sports. It's another thing for a guy to have an injury that not only wipes out this meaningless season, but wipes out the first few months of next year. Now, there's good news and there's bad news. Here's the good news. Position players who have Tommy John surgery, they come back from them.
Yep.
I don't know how many Yankee fans even know this. I'm sure a lot do. Some don't. Gleyber Torres had Tommy John surgery. Didi Gregorius had Tommy John surgery. Corey Seager had Tommy John surgery. Xavier Nady, why that name's on my brain, I don't know. Tommy John surgery. So this is
probably one you could have excluded.
Well, you know what? Because it was a Yankee. That's why.
I know, but he wasn't any good.
I think he was a Yankee for like a week before he needed the Tommy John, if I'm not mistaken. But this is one of those injuries where it sucks, and it's a long period of time, but you come back from it. This is not a pitcher needing a second Tommy John surgery, and even a pitcher needing a first, where you're not sure if he's ever going to be the same guy. So the good news is Jason Dominguez is 20 years old, and he's going to be back, and we're going to find out if he's the next great Yankee center fielder. The problem is, Tiki, Yankee fans are going to have to sit and wait for maybe half of next season.
Well, not only that, but they're going to sit and wait for him while having to deal with someone else.
Right.
Who's going to be likely, I don't know, some bridge player who's going to be ineffective, kind of like everybody was this year. So not only you losing him, we don't know if there's going to be a productive player in his place.
No, you're not. I'll answer for you.
And knowing how the Yankees have been over the last couple of years, particularly in the outfield, left field specifically, you kind of can expect that it's going to be someone who's not effective.
Especially if you know the guy's going to come back in June, July. You're not signing someone who's going to be that good to replace him. So what sucks about this is, and look, I don't know what the Yankees are going to do in this offseason. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about it. But one of the things that probably gave you a little bit more encouragement from this dreadful season was the thought of Jason Dominguez in April and the thought of young players in this lineup next year. And at least for the first few months, luckily it's not the end of the world, it's not forever, but at least for the first few months of the season, when you're trying to get hyped up for 2024, Dominguez isn't going to be there. And it's a shocker. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Look, the Aaron Rodgers thing is so different. I mean, he's half his age. Obviously, one guy's a Hall of Famer. The other guy's trying to prove he's great. But it was shocking, and it was something that came out of nowhere, and you almost forget sometimes that an injury as serious as this could happen to a position player because we're just so used to a pitcher saying his elbow is sore, and then 3 days later he needs Tommy John. When Jason Dominguez was scratched 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, I think we all just assumed, okay.
Yeah, he's young.
Whatever.
Give him a rest day. These games don't mean that much. You don't want to overwork him, et cetera, et cetera. But I remember when this first happened, I kept asking, how in the world does a 20-year-old outfielder have Tommy John? And Sean brought up something that was interesting, and I didn't even think about it, but he's right. playing in the Little League and then playing in high school or whatever level he went to after that, because I don't think he went to college, he definitely didn't go to college. He probably was a pitcher. He probably did everything. He probably played all over the diamond as a kid. Shortstop, pitcher. Obviously, he's a great hitter. And being the best player, because I'm sure he was, he probably asked him to pitch all the time. All the time. And then because he became a better hitter, they just let him evolve into that. And he still had damage early on in his career. He's big. Like, he's small. He's only 5'9", I think 190 pounds. That's not small, but you know what I mean. He's not Aaron Judge size. He's muscular, though. Right? And so when you're muscular like that and you don't always lift the right ways, you end up straining things and exacerbating things. And you just hope that he starts to get on a regimen that's not going to make this an issue going forward.
Yeah, we hope this is a footnote in his career, kind of like it is for a lot of the guys I mentioned. I think the other thing that could also happen is you're an outfielder. You make throws. You're not pitching as much as a pitcher. You're not throwing as much as a pitcher, but you make throws. And when you feel something, you may complain about it, or you may not say anything about it. You may just play through it and not think it's a big deal. And that's the way it sounds like what happened with Dominguez. And then a few days later, you still feel it. And then maybe you tell a trainer, and they say, we should get that checked out. And then it gets checked out, and all of a sudden you realize something stunning. Because most of the time when there's aches and sores, it probably is nothing. And in this case, it turned into something monumental. But it's fascinating to me, because this has happened a lot throughout New York sports, where there's something that's a big, big story, but the big story gets buried because there's another story that's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking that we should debut for the first time ever, especially since we got on the air post 5 o'clock, instead of Cinco de Fivo, the very first ever Cinco de Evo. Where I made my
Cinco
own
de
list.
Evo on Evan and Tiki.
That's right, and we even have production. So I made my own list of major New York sports moments that got buried by a bigger story.
Cinco de Evo on Evan and Tiki on the fan.
What happened to the regular production guy? Like, who is that?
A man with a great voice.
I got to tell you, that voice, phenomenal. Tremendous.
When did you do that? 5 seconds ago?
10 minutes ago.
Yeah, when I told him, I said, I thought of 5 things that were huge. All right, now you got to do the numbers now. I want to feel like Sean. Number 5.
Number 5.
All right, this one's very personal for me. The New Jersey Nets lose Game 5 of the NBA Finals, my first ever Finals game in 2003. Nets Spurs. They blow it in the fourth quarter. Steve Kerr hits a bunch of big threes. Nets go down 3-2 going back to Texas. But no one cared about it. Not just because they're the Nets, but because that steroided freak Roger Clemens won his 300th game. And the back page, Tiki, the very next day was Roger Clemens winning his 300th game against the Cardinals, and not the fact that the San Antonio Spurs took my soul.
Yeah, but I don't know if that one's forgotten.
Excuse me?
Forgotten?
No one talked about it that day.
I know in that moment it was talked about, but not forgotten.
Well,
not forgotten.
By many people, it's been forgotten. That definitely qualifies.
Number 4.
All right, there's a big one right now, and you remember this. Because your partner had a freak out, and I understand why.
Yeah, I did.
Kristaps Porzingis shockingly traded during Super Bowl week, the lead up to Patriots-Rams. Came out of nowhere. We're all focused on the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden, the Knicks trade the golden boy, Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, that then again, not forgotten because we all remember it happened, but I don't think people remembered when it happened. I do because we were on our desk doing a national show, Tiki and Tierney, back in whatever year that was, and BT just stands up and starts screaming.
Convention Center was buzzing for an NBA story.
And I was like, what in the world? And then he was more despondent because he was getting Colt, like this jersey and all these other things, his son.
I get it.
Like he was trying to make him a fan.
I get it,
We got
man.
this unicorn. All of a sudden, he's out.
No, I get it. I felt the same way when DeGrom went to Texas. I was like, what do I tell my son? Like, that was my biggest issue. What's funny is now history tells us the Knicks probably made a pretty good decision. So, yeah, that was a big one.
Number 3.
All right, I'll never forget it. I was at Shea Stadium that day. The Mets are closing Shea. They're losing game 162. That's the big story. The forgotten story, Brett Favre was awesome. It was his best game as a Jet. They beat the Arizona Cardinals that day, and no one remembered it because we were all focused and crying on the fact that the New York Mets, for the second consecutive year, lost game 162 at home to the Marlins and closed down Shea Stadium and then had a ceremony.
I believe that one. I don't remember what Brett Favre did.
There you go.
and against the Arizona Cardinals.
Now, this is a tough one between 2 and 1. I had a very, very difficult time.
Number 2.
I'm gonna respect history by going with. Screw it. I don't respect history. I was 3 years old. I don't remember it. The Giants beat the Redskins on a Monday night in 1986. It was a great win. O.J. Anderson, game-winning touchdown. It was obviously turned out to be a great year for the Giants, but no one remembers that because the Mets won Game 7 of the World Series that night.
I don't remember that either. I should have because
You were a Washington fan.
I was just down in Southwest Virginia.
Yeah.
Maybe I just didn't care about the Mets.
Yeah, you didn't know the World Series was going on.
I wasn't a baseball fan.
No, I get you.
I mean, I kind of grew up liking the Braves because they were on TBS, but I didn't care about baseball. It didn't resonate with me.
I think for a lot of our older listeners, that may be number one, but this is personal. Here's my number one.
Number 1.
Super Bowl week, Arizona, Giants, Patriots, the undefeated Patriots, the New York Giants, one of the most improbable runs in the history of the NFL. For my money, the greatest Super Bowl run of all time.
Everybody's predicting they're going to get their doors blown off by the New England Patriots.
Not me. I was the one guy. I said, I got that. I was concerned by the way the Patriots were coming back to earth. They struggled against the Chargers. They struggled against Jacksonville. They looked human. But whatever. It's not about me being right about a dopey prediction. It's the fact that the Mets traded for Johan Santana.
I don't remember that at all.
Because you were too focused on the Patriots and Spygate.
I was working in sports media at that point, and I don't remember that.
That was a big deal. The Mets acquired Cy Young Award winner Johan Santana. The Yankees did. Let's not forget it. The Yankees were trying to get Johan, and then all the Yankee fans whined and complained and said, there was a Yankee tax. The Twins didn't want to trade him to the Yankees, which is probably true, and the Mets ended up getting him. Johan obviously gave us this incredible moment. A no-hitter.
One hitter?
A no-hitter.
Oh, yeah.
A great performance on 3 days rest the following season on a Saturday.
And that was it.
That's a win for Yankee fans because the next year they acquired CC Sabathia instead and won a World Series with him.
That is true. I get you. But that was number one.
Good one, Sean.
That was
Good
number
Thanks,
one.
Teague.
Johan traded to the Mets as the Giants are getting ready for the Super Bowl. And there it is, your first ever Cinco de Evo.
Your sister's ass! That was good.
Now, let's get to the stages of grief because I got a new stage. I'm at a brand new stage.
Your anger is gone.
So before we get to the next stage, I had more anger last night after the show.
Why?
I'm going to tell you why. And I never laid this out on the air because it didn't really hit me until last night. Last night, I was at Citi Field. I watched the Mets win a nice game against the Diamondbacks. I'm with my dad. My dad and I are talking about our experience of watching the Jet game.
Okay.
My dad was expressing that he was on DVR. He went back to start the game early. And so he's telling me his story. I'm telling him my story. And I started reliving the night. I started reliving it. And something happened that got me really, really freaking pissed off at the New York Jets. And so I want to make something clear. My anger was more last night, so I may have to recreate my anger today, okay? Now, as I talk about it, my anger may come back. And I want you to hear me out on this.
All right.
Because as a former player,
I'm listening to this, and I don't understand how you're re-angry. Last night and now.
I'm going to tell you why. The New York Jets knew Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. McGovern told the story. I eavesdropped. He said it yesterday when he met the media. I saw Robert Saleh's face. They knew during the game that he tore his Achilles.
Okay, I'm still waiting why this angers you.
Because the New York Jets released information to us as fans and to the national media that said he's out for the game, X-rays negative.
Yes.
What?
An X-ray can be negative.
But no. I don't give a rat's ass what X-rays could mean or don't mean or they may mean or they happen to mean or what it means. If you know this man tore his Achilles, don't tease us by giving us X-rays negative because most of us, Tiki, are idiots. We don't know what that means. All we hear is X-rays negative. That sounds good. He'll be back in a week. And instead, they knew his Achilles was tear. Why are they telling us X-rays negative?
And so as I think back to it, it makes no sense not to be honest about it because it's not going to affect anything in the game. Meaning, if that gets released from the media, national media, on a national broadcast, it's not going to affect a thing in that specific game. It's not changing anything.
Exactly.
And so the only thing you can potentially be doing by saying it's an ankle injury was, well, maybe he's going to come back. right?
But they already ruled him out.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So, but originally they didn't. They didn't rule him out.
Right.
They said he has an ankle injury. He's going into the locker room. So we see him going to the locker room. Subsequently, I don't know, half a quarter later, they rule him out. So at that point, there is no competitive advantage for lying so that the team, so it's, you know what I mean? So that nobody knows, the Bills don't know what's happening.
Right.
They're still not thinking about Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So there was no reason to.
So you're just, all you're doing right now is fanning the flames, Tiki. You're not making me feel better.
I'm curious why it mattered.
Because
that it was viewed as an ankle injury as opposed to an Achilles injury.
Because this question has been asked to me numerous times. It got asked to me last night while I was on the toilet at Citi Field. And by the way, come on, if I've got to go in the sixth inning, I love talking to people, but I'm sitting there. You know what's going on, but we're breaking down the Jets. And the person said to me, when did you know he was going to miss the season? Like, when did it hit you? Well, I didn't know until I'm reading Twitter and everybody's guessing and experts are guessing. But when the Jets tell me X-rays negative, even though I know nothing about X-rays other than I got one that said I had pneumonia about 2 weeks ago, that sounds like good news. That sounds like something that's, oh, okay, good. X-rays negative. If the Jets already know his Achilles torn, why are you even putting out their X-rays negative? All you got to say is, you know what? You don't want to tell me towards Achilles? Fine. Here's what you say. We don't know. Why would you release X-rays negative? What do you think that does?
I don't know. Other than keep the competitive advantage in their favor, which
he's
didn't
already
matter.
been ruled out.
No. I'm actually going to defend the Jets stunningly.
Go ahead.
That building was still buzzing. They were definitely deflated that he was out. But you know, you've been at stadiums when news starts to travel. If that fan base finds out at halftime that Aaron Rodgers is done for the year with a torn Achilles, you're not going to have everybody leave the stadium, but there's going to be like a funeral-like feel.
Sean, I am not suggesting the Jets should have told us torn Achilles. What I am suggesting is don't put out information that sounds positive. X-rays negative. Come on, you're a perfect example. You're a village idiot. What does X-rays negative sound like, Sean?
It sounds like everything's fine. Yeah, dude, no doubt. But I think that what the Jets were trying to do, they just had everybody go gaga. They hold off on the bad news and give at least an opportunity for one good night this year at home. I'm serious.
It doesn't even matter, though.
Because I know a couple people went to this game, they were Jet fans, and they went ballistic. They went nuts at the time of their lives, and they said the ride home, once they found out the first thing Salah said was like a funeral. And it totally flipped. But if they found that at a halftime, that you're never going to have that chaotic scene even with the punt return.
So what you're saying is keep the energy in the stadium.
And the crowd was pushing that second half to get. Look, it's going to be a little more subdued if they knew he was done.
Maybe there is something to that. But as soon as you see, I'm trying to think of the last time, if ever, I've seen someone leave a football field on a cart and then come back into the game.
Never happens.
It never happens.
Very rarely
And I know
happens.
he walked off the field, gingerly. He walked off, so you could still speculate. But as soon as he goes in a tent, and then the cart comes out, I mean, it's one thing if you're hurt on the field and it's hurt so bad you can't get up, and the cart comes out immediately. You go in, you take a Toradol shot, and you realize, oh, it's just a bad sprain. Let's go. I can do it. But you walk off, go into the tent, and then the cart comes out. I mean, that should have told you all you needed to know.
Yeah, but it's not about that. It's
is.
about the fact that they told me something that they wanted to have make me feel okay, and it turned out to be BS. His X-rays being negative didn't mean a damn thing. So, by the way, now I don't have to recreate it. Now I'm pissed again. Just talking about this again.
I don't know why you're so mad.
Because I feel like I was lied to. I feel like they
You
tried.
probably were lied to.
Well, I don't like,
that's okay.
No, I don't like being lied to. And you know what I don't like? Set the bar low. Okay? I've done this my entire life. I have set the bar so low to my wife. When I shouldn't get into this. First time. She didn't expect a lot. All right? You set the bar low. You make it like if you're a presidential candidate, you make everyone think going into that debate, my God, if this guy can get to a sentence, that's a victory. And then when you get through 2 sentences, everybody thinks you're smart. Meanwhile, you didn't even say anything. You need to set the bar low. You can't set the bar high. What kind of world is that? Because then you're all going to be disappointed. And that's what the Jets did. They teased me. And you know this for a fact, bro. There were many other people watching that game who, when they saw X-rays negative, thought the same thing I thought, which is, oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I agree. Until they re-showed it and showed his calf stretching, I thought that it was a midfoot sprain. It's the first thing I wrote you guys. I was like, that looks like a midfoot.
Yeah,
man.
I'm mad at you too, by the way.
Looked like his foot bent in an awkward way.
Why would you even say that to us?
That's a midfoot because that's recoverable. You can come back from that.
Was it that?
No, it wasn't.
So you set us up to think, oh, it'll be all right, and now he's out for eternity. So thanks, Tiki.
Off. It is what it is.
You're as bad as the Jets were that night.
I'm not. I was just trying to be optimistic.
Optimistic.
You keep a positive mind, and maybe positive things will happen. Jeff McNeil.
Yeah, the Mets are kicking the Diamondbacks' ass. I'm very happy about that. So that's my anger. All right, this is the third stages of grief. I went through the shock on Monday night. I certainly went through denial on Tuesday, clearly. My anger is now seeped over into Thursday.
You had anger yesterday. I thought you were going to bargaining.
Well, that's where I'm at now.
But it sounds like you're back to anger.
Because you made me re-talk about this.
You wanted to re-talk about it.
That's true. I wanted to make clear that I had more anger. My next stage that I was in earlier, and I got to get back into, is bargaining. And here's where I'm at with the bargaining. And it's very, very simple. Just get me to the playoffs. That's just get me to the effing playoffs.
You want to sell your soul for the playoffs.
Listen, I know that there were Super Bowl expectations. I even had it. Sean and I argued a few weeks ago they're a Super Bowl contender. He said they weren't even a Super Bowl contender. I admit, are they a Super Bowl contender right now? Probably not. They'd have to be the 85 Bears to be a Super Bowl contender. They'd have to force 55 turnovers this year to be a Super Bowl contender. Zach Wilson would have to morph into a quarterback none of us see coming to be a Super Bowl contender. I get it, all right? I've accepted that in my bargaining stage. But I need the freaking playoffs. It has been way too long. This defense is way too good.
Yeah.
And they were close last year. They won 7 games. They should have won more. They had the worst quarterback play in the NFL, and his defense couldn't force a damn turnover the last 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So my bargaining is I just want the playoffs. I don't need anything else. I need a playoff win. Don't even need the division. Don't need a home playoff game. I need to be playing wild card weekend.
I am not generally a troll. So don't take it this way, even though it's going to sound this way.
Here we go.
Sean, does he not sound exactly like a Yankee fan?
Definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Like a Yankee fan. Last year, we got to the ALCS. Look at all that we've done. Look at all the talent on this squad. Look how amazing we can be. I know we're not good, but come on, just give me the playoffs. That's what you're clamoring for.
But the difference,
for the playoffs.
The difference.
By the way, you're at an advantage. You're at an advantage.
Wanna
Because
know?
all the teams that were supposed to be dominant in the AFC, Kansas City Chiefs, they lost. The Buffalo Bills, they lost. The Cincinnati Bengals, they lost, and they look terrible. I'm calling them this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. Miami surprised us, Jesse Tuitt throwing for almost 500 yards. But most of the teams that you had sitting there, like, all right, that's our competition, they lost. And guess what?
The Jets won.
You won.
I know. I just want the playoffs. And you can mock me all day long. I'm a baby. The truth is, this is a franchise that hasn't seen the playoffs since 2010. Like, Barack Obama was in his first term. Like, I could play that history game all day for how long ago that was. It was a very long time ago.
The last time Rodgers won a Super Bowl.
I'm a baby. Not the place to take shots at.
That's actually factual.
Just giving facts.
Oh, I remember. Trust me. That's all I want. So if this is my bargaining stage, I was reading the 7 stages of grief. It's taken me 4 days to get to the 4th stage. The next stage is going to be depression. And I guess I'll have depression at about 5:30 on Sunday.
Oh, come on.
When the Cowboys
Why so negative? Why are you so negative?
And then I guess after the game is when I will hit acceptance. So I'm almost through the 7 stages of grief.
I think Zach's going to surprise you. You're going to come in and say, I don't want Aaron Rodgers anymore. Zach was amazing. And I can't wait for this team to get to the playoffs and trounce through it.
Which stage of grief is that, by the way? Delusion?
Delusion, exactly. I'm adding a new one.
We'll come back and get your calls, 877-337-6666. Zach Wilson's not good. Yes. Plus, we finally have this proof, and I kind of felt it over the last few years. I know Sean has felt it over the last few years, but we have undeniable proof that the city of Philadelphia has become the softest city in America. It's no longer just a statement that Sean will make or I'll make. Like, we got it. We got the undeniable proof, and we will lay it out to my fellow New Yorkers and New Jerseyers coming up in a little bit.